The wind was cold that morning, colder than it should have been. Not the kind that bites your skin, but the kind that creeps into your bones and stays there. Thomas Reed stood outside his broken wooden door, staring at the empty road. Nothing moved. No carts, no traders, no neighbors, just silence and hunger. Inside the house his daughter coughed, a small sound, weak, like it might disappear at any moment. He closed his eyes, just for a second, because every time she coughed, it felt like something inside him cracked. Thomas was not always a poor man. 10 years ago, he owned land. Good land, wheat fields that stretched beyond sight, a barn full of grain, 3 horses, and a wife who laughed, even during storms. But then came the dry years, one after another. Rain stopped coming. Crops failed. Debt grew. He sold 1 horse, then another, then the land, and finally he buried his wife. Fever. Quick, cruel, and silent. Now only he and his daughter remained. Her name was Eliza. She was 8, too thin for her age, but her eyes still bright, still hopeful, and that made it worse. "Eliza," he said softly, stepping inside. She lay on a small bed made of straw and cloth, her face pale, her lips dry. But when she saw him, she smiled. "Did you find work today, Papa?" Her voice gentle, careful, as if she already knew the answer, but didn't want to hurt him. Thomas forced a smile. "Tomorrow," he said. "Tomorrow will be better." He had said that yesterday, and the day before, and the week before that. Eliza nodded slowly. "I believe you," she whispered. And that nearly broke him. There was no food left, not even crumbs. There was no food left, not even crumbs. He had given her the last piece of bread the night before and told her he wasn't hungry, but his stomach burned, his hands shook, and his thoughts grew darker. That afternoon, he made a decision, a small one, but heavy. He picked up Eliza's shoes. They were worn, patched many times, barely holding together, but they were still worth something. Maybe enough for bread, maybe enough for bread, maybe enough for one more day. "Eliza," he said, kneeling beside her, "I need to go to the market." She looked at the shoes in his hands. Her smile faded, just a little. "Will I still be able to walk outside?" she asked quietly. He swallowed. "Yes, just not today." She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, Pa." She didn't argue, didn't complain. That made it worse. The market was far, 5 miles. Thomas walked the whole way, his boots worn thin, his breath heavy. Each step felt like he was leaving something behind. When he reached the town, it was busier than he expected. People crowded around stalls, voices shouted, money changed hands. But he had nothing except a small pair of shoes. He approached a trader, a heavy man with sharp eyes. "How much?" the man asked, barely looking. Thomas held up the shoes. The man laughed. "These worthless." The man laughed. "These worthless. They're still good," Thomas said quietly. The man shrugged. "I'll give you half a loaf." Thomas froze. Half a loaf. For his daughter's shoes. He looked around. No better offers. No kinder faces. Just hunger everywhere. Different faces. Same desperation. He nodded slowly. "Deal." The man tossed him a rough piece of bread. Hard, stale, but food. Thomas handed over the shoes, and for a moment his hands didn't want to let go, but he did. As he turned to leave, something caught his eye. A young boy, barefoot, standing near a stall. His feet were bleeding, cracked, raw, and yet he said nothing, just stood there, waiting. Thomas looked at the bread in his hand, then at the boy, then back at the road, then back at the road. He walked away. Halfway home, the sky darkened. Clouds rolled in. Heavy, threatening rain, or worse. Thomas stopped under a tree, his hands shaking. He broke off a small piece of bread, just a bite, just enough to keep walking. But then he heard it. A sound, soft, weak, like a memory. A child crying. He followed the sound, slowly, carefully, until he found her. A little girl, no older than 5, sitting alone by the roadside. Barefoot, dirty, crying quietly. No, Thomas whispered. Not again. Not another child. Not today. He stepped closer. Where are your parents? He asked gently. She didn't answer, just shook her head, her eyes red, her body trembling. He looked at the bread again, then at her, then closed his eyes. No, he said under his breath. I can't. I have Eliza. She needs me. He turned to walk away. 1 step, 2. Then the crying grew louder, not in sound, but in his mind. He stopped. His shoulders dropped, and slowly he turned back. He walked to the girl, knelt down, and held out the bread. Her crying stopped. She stared at it, then at him, like she didn't believe it was real. Take it, he said softly. She grabbed it, a tay fast, too fast, like it might disappear. Thomas watched, his chest tight, his stomach empty, his heart heavier than ever. When she finished, she looked up. Thank you, she whispered, and then she smiled. That smile, it felt like a knife, because now he had nothing. Nothing to take home. Nothing for Eliza. The rain began. Cold, sharp, relentless. Thomas walked back, empty-handed. Each step slower than the last, each breath harder. By the time he reached home, night had fallen. The door creaked open. The door creaked open. Eliza, he called. No answer. His heart dropped. He rushed inside. She was lying on the bed, still, too still. Eliza, he whispered. No movement. He stepped closer, his hands trembling. Then a soft breath. Relief hit him like a wave. She was alive, but weak, very weak. Papa, she whispered. He knelt beside her. I'm here. Did you bring bread? She asked. Silence filled the room. Thomas opened his mouth, but no words came. Finally, no, he said. She didn't cry, didn't complain. She just nodded. I'm not very hungry anyway, she whispered. That lie, it was worse than anything. Thomas broke. Tears fell. Silent, heavy. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. Eliza reached out, placed a small hand on his. It's okay, Papa, she said. You always try. That night, they slept hungry. The storm passed by morning, and something changed. Thomas woke early. Before the sun, he stepped outside, looked at the empty land. Then he started digging. The ground was hard, dry, unforgiving. But he kept going, hour after hour, day after day. People laughed, called him foolish. Nothing will grow there, they said. But he didn't stop, 'cause he had nothing left to lose. Weeks passed. Then one morning, a small green shoot appeared. Then another, and another. It wasn't much, but it was something. And sometimes, something is enough. Months later, the land began to change. Not rich, not perfect, but alive. Eliza grew stronger. Slowly, and one evening, she walked outside, barefoot, but smiling. Look, Papa, she said. It's growing. Thomas nodded, tears in his eyes. Yes, he said. It is. He never forgot that day, the day he gave away his last bread, because that was the day he stopped waiting for help and started fighting for life.